Welcome to Ladyada.
Hey everybody, welcome to my desk. Happy Sunday, everybody. So on this week's desk, I'm going to lift my desk. I've had this desk for a while, and you can see the background. It's this black Biomorph Flexo I got like, I don't know, 10 years ago, easily, 8 years ago, when we first moved into our last place.
So this episode of Desk of Ladyada is about the desk
About
of
the
Ladyada.
desk.
The
Yeah.
desk behind the desk.
So let's maybe go to the computer real fast. I'll show off what I've got. So I didn't get, this is the new version. So this version is like much more expensive because it's the motorized version, but it looks very similar. It's like this dual level desk. I really like dual level desks. It's really big. It's really strong. It's got this like cabling stuff. These are very nice desks. You do not have to spend this much on a desk. I'm just very picky about the desks, and I use them like 18 hours a day. So I want a really good desk. But when I got this, it was like, I think it was like $2,000 because it was an earlier version, but it also wasn't motorized. It also didn't have the inflation adjustment. It has a crank that it comes with, and like in theory, you're like, you can crank it and you can lift it. It does move up and down. Is there something else I can help with? What is that? That's weird. Sorry,
The AI is taking over.
it's like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah.
So you can use this crank, but like nobody actually uses like this crank. You can't do this multiple times a day. And like I'm trying to keep my back healthy, so I want to be able to move up and down, maybe once or twice a day. Just get 20 minutes standing here and there to give a break to my butt. So I got a kit. And I got it direct from the company, but it turns out it's actually kind of just an off-the-shelf kit. And so if you're making a standing desk, I'm sure people who make these like know all this stuff, but the frame I got is basically, it comes, basically what they sent me is a Linac desk frame 1. And it's kind of a beast. So let me lift it up. Okay, so you can go to maybe the main image. Okay. So it comes with 2 of these ginormous linear actuators. And then maybe let's go, it's got this connector here. This is like the power and data connector. It's got a couple, it's interesting is it says designed in Denmark, assembled in the US. So it's like, these are so heavy, these massive linear actuators, because they have to be able to lift like, 400 pounds as what they're rated for. So let's look at, on the overhead. It's rotate a little bit. So maybe it's more legible. Okay, so 800 Newton load, 18 volts, 9 amps. So like, yeah, this is kind of no nonsense here. Duty cycle 10%, max 2 minutes, but that out of 18 minutes. That's reasonable. Like these linear actuators are not meant to run repeatedly. They're meant to run once in a while for a few minutes as you lower and raise, and then you give it a break. You're not sitting going up and down constantly all day. And the way the linear, I mean, of course they have to lift the weight evenly, but what's nice about linear actuators is they've got, basically it's a big motor and a gigantic gear. It's geared down so much that basically it statically holds. Like you don't have to run the motor to set the location. There also might be some sort of latch inside that holds it. And second, they're like really strong. They're usually a little loud. It's not, it's not going to be a silent motor. But you only need to use power when you're moving it up and down. So that's the 18 volts and 9 amps. So that's that part. And it's really heavy. It's all steel welded. Okay, and then it also comes with this. This is the power supply. 120 volts, so it's not like 240. I guess there's a version, when you're in Europe, you use 240. And it'll give you 40 volts, 9 amps. I guess, I don't know. That actually doesn't sound like the right voltage, but maybe it doesn't matter. Since 18 volts. Power 18, but this is output. Oh, I see, 12 to 40. Maybe it tells it like what the voltage it wants. And then there's another 5 amp 40. Who knows why there's 2 voltage outputs. Also not meant for high duty cycle, but like, again, that's okay. So it's pretty lightweight. This is the AC input, like your standard IEC connector, and then the DC input. And then there's also over here the control input, A1, A2, and this is actually used for a couple things. So the first thing is you get a little controller thing. So you can do up and down, and then there's 3 settings. So like that's pretty common. You usually have the sit setting and the stand setting, and you're like, you just want to move between the two. So I think, you know, once you know what you want, you press S to set it, and then you can, or you're like press and hold. And then this interface goes into this like RJ45-esque or RJ45 connector with a couple wires. And then if you look at back in the computer, what I thought was kind of interesting is it's like, because I was like, oh, I wonder if like what else you can do with it. Well, they have like a billion sensors, which I thought was kind of interesting. So like there's control boxes, and you can see there's like the lifting column, and you know the motors, but they also have like it's interesting. It's like desk occupancy and booking software, and then Bluetooth reminders and control. They do like a lot of stuff. And then they have sensors under
Do
accessories.
you have to pay Lyft as a service, or do you get to Lyft it anytime you want, or do you have to get a Lyft subscription?
I don't even want to
How many Lyft minutes do you get per month?
Yeah. So there's like battery packs. If you don't have an outlet, I guess if you're in an area where you want to go up and down, you can get like a battery pack. There's also Bluetooth adapters, charging ports, limit switches, and there's actually a bunch of sensors. I guess, you know, one of the problems is, of course, it's like if you're not paying attention, you can crush something underneath, like your chair. So they have like piezo sensors. Let me see if I can find where it went. There's like a lot of stuff. Wi-Fi. Oh, these are for the beds. So there's also, you know, bed. They do linear actuators for beds. Control boxes. Hold on, where's the sensors? Let me search for it to find it. So I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting idea. Piezo. I don't know if I'm gonna find it now. They have like a trillion. So let me look, search for Mac desk piezo sensor. Okay. So anti-collision, yeah. So this is kind of, I thought that's very funny. So there's like sensors. So this is a gyroscope. And what it does is it like, you know, if you're trying to lower and you bump into like your computer or something and you can't, you know, so it's like it starts to twist, it'll detect it and it will automatically send the emergency off signal. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then like it call integrated sensors. So I don't think that they have like a, you know, public domain documentation, but I think probably somebody has maybe done some analysis of like what the sensors are. I thought that'd be interesting to see. But you know, we're doing desk Ladyada, and then hopefully I'll take everything off my desk, turn this over, and install this new desk frame, and then I'll be standing desk of Ladyada. So that'll be good. Okay, so that's number 1. Okay, so can you go back to the overhead? Sorry. Next up, I got some. Let's go zoom in. One thing I will say, like, I like this desk, but the surface is not so great. It's like I should have gotten a wood veneer surface or something, because this scratches and scrapes very, very easily. Just a kind of a bummer. It's not really meant for electrical engineers. It's meant for like radiologists or something. I got some sample prototypes back, including this edge, not the edge mount. It's like a sunken USB-C. So it's kind of similar to the USB-C breakouts we've got, except you can see it sinks down to the bottom of the PCB. So it kind of like has a more like you're on the edge mount. And I see this a lot in Pro Micro boards that are used for like keyboard mods. People really like these sunken USB-Cs. So I'm gonna make a breakout just to try this out, just to see like how's the manufacturing go with it. I mean, it's kind of funky because it's got these like wide legs, because the cutout is, you know, it's pretty intense. You have to, and you have to have a little. This is like a perfect cutout because you see the plastic is bumped right up against it for good mechanical strength. But and it's a pain. It's like you can't really pick in places. I mean, you can kind of pick in places part, but you need to hand check it afterwards. And then the other thing that came in that I basically was able to test and approve super fast was the ICS-43434. So this was the I2S microphone that some people were asking me to stock, and I don't see it's that different than the SPH that we already have, but you know, sometimes you're looking for the particular part number, and I get it. So I made a breakout for this, and because it's the same pinout, I was able to use my existing I2S mic tester, and it was good. So let me see what else I've got on my list to talk about. So I did prototypes. Okay. And then, okay, can you go back to my computer? So another exciting thing that happened is the Feather RP2350 with HSTX. We finally fixed the tester in the Arduino code. Turns out you know, instead of waiting 0 milliseconds for the crystal, we need to wait like 60 milliseconds for the crystal to boot up. And I've seen this. It's so dependent on temperature and humidity and the crystal and the loading, blah, blah, blah. But once we did that, all the boards passed. So they're all good. And so we had 100 Feather RP2350s. They sold out. So now I'm going to do the Metro. And I'm gonna have this like weird hair. I'm going to do the HSTX bones boards. So if I go to dev, I don't have to hide anything now because I had to hide the RP2350 Feather because I didn't want people to see it while I was navigating. So now, because I call it Amethyst because that was the code name for the chip. But what I want to do is much like the RP2040, I wanted to do, oops, I accidentally saved over the file. Oh, that's a bummer. Well, I'm not going to do a git revert now because it's going to end up with tragedy. So what I want to do is, so let's like say I want a micro. I'll do like a quick and dirty bonesing. Maybe I'll do like a TVI. Sorry, HDMI. Okay, so let's say we're like, oh, I want an HDMI connector. Like, you know, we had the DVI Feather. I can clear this out and then remove all this stuff. Bye. And then I can fit a HDMI connector here instead. Maybe I'll move it up. Maybe I'll move it back. Maybe I'll use a mini HDMI, actually. Maybe I want to make it a little bit more compact. Mini. Yeah, the mini is like nice because it fits on the end. I have still about that space. Maybe I'll still stick some PS RAM here. And the semi-QT. Whoa, good party time. Okay. And then it's like, oh, maybe I want to make a micro SD, like a data logger. Let's pick my favorite micro SD card. It's a huge socket too. There's smaller sockets. And then again, I can clear out this space and then, oops. And then where's this? Put this here. Okay. Bam. Like emerald. Bam. Now it's a data logger. Cool. It doesn't have as much space as the RP2040 because I use that buck converter. One thing I could do is if I really need a little bit more space is remove this inductor and just put in an LDO. If it's like nobody cares about the power, but I can start doing a couple of these bones boards. So I don't know. Put your requests in. What do you want me to bones up? Okay, cool. So that's that. I think, how are we doing on time?
You're at the 15.
Perfect. Let's do research.
Where in the world is that part I need? The great search with DigiKey.
The Great Search brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. Every single week, Ladyada users are powered for engineering to help you, yes, you, find the things you are looking for on digikey.com. Ladyada, what is the Great Search of the week this week?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. So we had someone, I think they asked on social media or Discord, they said, is there a good partner with volume control and headphone amp you recommend for an I2S DAC? I was using the TLV 321 AIC23, but it was obsoleted. Boo! A lot of things did make the chip shortage. Closest I can find is the NAU 88C22. So let's take a look. So this is the chip that they were using. So this is, you can still get it on the marketplace. So like, you know, if you don't mind, usually marketplace is a little cheaper now. It's not like when people were charging $10 for an op amp, which was like so sad. You can usually get chips on marketplace, like from Rochester, you know, new old stock, for as equal to or less than the original price. But maybe you still don't want to design in because there's no guarantee. Like once those 270,000 are gone, like they're gone for good. So this is, let's take a look at what this baby is. It's a stereo codec. So it does, it's a codec, so it does input and output. It does, I mean, there's a big data sheet, but it does microphone and output. One thing I noticed is, I'm not saying the headphone amp is like not great, but usually when I think of a headphone amp, I think of something that can do 16 ohms, not 32 ohms, and definitely more than 30 milliwatts. You don't have to do a ton, but it's like usually 100 milliwatts into 16 volts because people can have like pretty, like their Sennheiser cans, whatever. When some people start calling their headphones cans, you're talking about 16 ohms, sometimes even less, which is kind of intense. But you can use I2C. Whoa, there's a MIC BSP. It's like a board support package that comes with a fries and a drink, I guess. TSOP, QFN, linear amp, looks like this. So mic in, line in, headphone out, headphone driver. You know, to be honest, anything that does headphone driving is going to have volume control, digital volume control, and then digital input. So let's look at what, first off, you can always go to the what is the recommended. One thing I did notice is that it had like dynamic range and signal noise ratio about 90 dB. So that's actually pretty good quality. And it's a QFN. I figured the person who was asking for this wanted the quality, like the high signal noise ratio, bigger number better, and the QFN package. And the cost was not, you know, this was a little pricey because I think again it was new old stock, but something around $3. So let's take a look. So the recommended alternative was, again, you know, it's like $2-3, pretty good price. It's a little bit of a beast though. So this one has, you know, excellent signal noise ratio, great, 102, which is amazing, 32-bit data. But like it has like 6 inputs and outputs. It's a little bit intense. And let's see what the headphone driver, singular differential. This one can do 16 ohms. So like, again, that's kind of pro. Digging that. Separation doesn't say the milliwatt out. Oh, there you go, milliwatt. So AC coupled 16 ohms. Up to, if you're powering it with 3.6 volt, well, we'll do 3.3 volts because that's probably what we'll do the power with. 60 millivolts, so like a little, you know, twice as good and half the impedance. So that's nice. But let's look at other options. This is not a bad option, but let's look at what else is available. So let's just start with looking at codecs. And, you know, I figured because this person was like, oh, I don't want to use an obsolete part. Let's look at active, normally stocking, and not look at marketplace products, because again, you're going to see stuff that's like, even if it's obsolete, it'll make it into the marketplace for new old stock. But we want to only get like new. Resolution, I don't think we want less than 16-bit. So let's just do that and above. ADCs and DACs, the one that we were looking at had 2 in, 2 out, so stereo in, stereo out. I think that's minimum. Let's do up to 4. Okay, cool. And lastly, I started looking at this point because I had like 120 options. And there is that NAU 88cc C22 that the person mentioned. And it does look, nice package. Those are a bunch of these, like, I don't know, the thalaphobia. It's like, it's bad enough as BGA, but like, there's so many BGAs. Let's filter those out. So I selected all the packages and then I deselected anything that was chip scale. Also, 64 LQFP is enormous. We're not going to do anything that big. Or even 56 QFN. Let's look for something smaller. 48 QFN and less. No BGA, no LCSPs, no chip scale packages. Oops. No chip scale, no WLPs. Okay. TSOP is a little bit silly, but we'll keep it in. Okay, so we deselected all of the BGAs, got rid of a bunch. So now we're down to 80. And some good options. Let's sort by price. So let's say 500 quantity. So yeah, this one, there's not that many in stock, which kind of weirds me out. But the NAU 88C22 does look like a really good option. Very inexpensive. It has, mixing. Obviously, if it has an equalizer, it's going to have volume control. Can run from 1.8 volts. Has bridge tied load for speaker and also a headphone driver. You can operate a 5-volt supply to get more power, 1 watt output. So it's kind of nice. You have one speaker. So this is like, you want to make your own Walkman with like the one little speaker, and then like you can plug in your headphones. So that's kind of what you're doing here. Wind noise reduction. Okay. Let's see if they mentioned the load. Signal to noise ratio is not too bad. Again, 90. That's for the speaker output. Headphone output, 92. Looks like it can do 16 ohm loads, 20 milliwatts. So not super powerful, but maybe good enough. Let's see if there's more specs on the headphone amplifier. I should have grabbed the, oops. Yeah, speaker is, yeah, okay, so you go, 40 milliwatts into 16 ohms. Okay, so it's like not too bad. It's actually very similar to the original TI part. So it's not bad. There was this one, which was fairly inexpensive. I do like Maxim I2S amps. I find that they're pretty good. Like I've really used the Max 98 series, the 357 for a really long time. And it's WLP, but they also have a QFN. And this one doesn't have a speaker. It's very minimal. It's like stereo line in, stereo electret, whatever microphone, and headphone amp out. So let's look at the headphone driver. Okay, the device can do 10 milliwatts into 32 ohms. Kind of like weak a little bit. Not the worst. Not too bad, not too great. And then I did look over here at it's 18 bits. The dynamic range is less, it's like 85. And then I looked at this other family. There's 2 others that I kind of looked at. So there's the WM. There you go. I've always used Cirrus for a very long time, their I2S stuff. Pretty good quality. Let's see. They can also, they do the dynamic ranging, and then let's see what their headphone driver can do. So they do a ground referenced. So it's not floating. You don't need it to be. Oh, I guess it like it does the differential signaling. So I guess you can ground reference. You don't need big capacitors. So that's kind of nice. And let's see what they say for the headphone. I have to go really far. Let's see if the word load appears. Okay, load looks like they can do 16 ohms and about 30 milliwatts. Yeah, so they're like 30 milliwatts, 16 or 32 ohm load. Okay, and then finally, even though it was like similar to the one we rejected because it had so many line ins, this TLV 320 AAC, not the, sorry, the 3101, not the 3105, $2, 24-bit, same family. It's not pin compatible. But you know, great signal noise ratio, completely configurable. And yes, it can do like 5 trillion different inputs and outputs, but I think you could just disconnect them. And I like that it did have a stereo, so it had stereo headphone and a speaker. And then this is the family, so you can have, there's like, you can choose the 01, 04, 06, 07, depending on how you want. This one is kind of the most minimal one. And let's look for the word load. Wait, did I miss one? Okay. 16 ohms, either with caps or without caps. And then let me see if I can find the milliwatt it can put in. We say put it all in like one location. Speaker, power, load, milliwatt. So again, 60. So even though the 3105 is recommended, the 3101 I think is your best bet. I like that it has the mono speaker. It's not been compatible, but you know what? If it's part of the TLV 320 family, probably the I2C part isn't going to be that much more complicated. They're going to have like very similar configuration registers. So this is my pick for your headphone output I2S amplifier at a reasonable cost and has volume control.
Does a great search.
Where in the world is that part I need? A great search with DigiKey.
Okie dokie, that's our show, Ladyada. We got a bunch of stuff going on during the weekend. More.
Yes.
Stay tuned to all the places. We got new products, videos, content.
I gotta redo my desk. I gotta
We're gonna redo a desk. We got so many things going on. We need a bigger boat, bigger desk with motors.
No, I do, because it's like I'm engineering so hard.
That's right.
that my body is like not making it.
I always think people should invest in toothbrushes because you use that every day. Belts, because that's important. Shoes. Yeah. And then like a bag.
Glasses.
Glasses, and then a bag. If you carry things every day, a bag. Because those are the things that you're gonna need. And then a desk for someone like you.
Yeah.
That's your weapon of choice.
That's right.
Let's go. Let's get out of here.
Okay, bye everybody, and take apart my desk.